Dan Sodergren is a tech expert and joins me now. Hi, Dan.
Hi there.
Now, right, Dan, why are so many car parks starting to go app only? We've heard a little bit about the reasoning why. They're reducing the risk of theft. Is that possibly the major move?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that sounds like a nice PR move. Sorry, I'm not here on their behalf. And by the way, I'm not saying it is a PR move. I'm just saying that seems to be a,
right.
Can everyone think of the children kind of move? What it's to do with is the slightly more technical reason that 3G, I don't know if when you look on your phone, you might see 3G, 4G, 5, or 3G is basically is going to be stopped in the next couple of years by lots of different people. We're not going to have 3G connections anymore, and unfortunately, parking meters and other things run on those old-fashioned 3G connections, and so that's the reason why they're going to have to replace all the machines. And of course, that would cost millions of pounds to do. So it's a defensible moment in that respect. If we're only considering money, it's a defensible moment in that thing.
The lights are flashing in my head, though, Dan, about this, because I'm already thinking, I know my nan, God rest her soul, if she was alive today and she used to love popping into town in a little car, there is no way she would use a smartphone to pay for her parking, and she's going to be left, as we've just heard on that little voice clip there. There's going to be people driving around, wasting time trying to find other car parks. Surely the powers that be, surely they understand that not everybody's going to be in a fortunate enough position to have a smartphone.
Well, I think it's all to do with the numbers. And again, I'm not defending the move by any stretch of imagination, but I think you should nationally subsidise the fact that if you're going to make this new move into this new world of a lot of things being digital, actually the government have a moral responsibility, whoever they are at the time, to maybe subsidise some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that smartphones are nowhere near as expensive as we might think they are. They're not. They're not anymore. And also, there are a lot more people with smartphones than you think. In fact, actually, there's a whole generation of people. If you say smartphone, they say, "What the heck's a smartphone?" Because of course they never knew the dumb phones that we used to have. So there's other things as well. You can pay. You should be able to pay through text. You should be able to pay through using a telephone number. There are other ways that you can pay, but of course the powers that be would rather that you had a smartphone and download the app. But of course they're pushing that responsibility back onto the consumer, because often, unfortunately, when government wants to save money, that's what they do. They say, "Well, you've got to pay for it. Go for it," which again I don't think that's very nice.
You just mentioned about, being in a digital world. Do you think that is where we're heading? Because we've had conversations on here before, Dan, about cash machines and about the fact that nobody really carries cash, and especially since the coronavirus pandemic. Are we heading towards a cashless world? We're now having parking apps, rather than park and pay with money. Do you think that's the way we're heading now?
Well, I think there's a common sense bit to it, which I think with the coronavirus, they say it had 10 years of digital transformation in a year or two. Over the coronavirus moment, we do more Zoom meetings than ever before. We're doing more remote stuff, more digital stuff. I think there's always going to be a common sense move towards it, but I don't think we're ever going to live, or certainly not in my lifetime, in a cashless society entirely. I think there's actually a bit of a danger in that as well. So I'm certainly, as a technologist, I truly believe that we should be able to use cash. But of course, there's a lot of benefits to not doing it as well. A lot of speed, a lot of efficiencies, a lot of other things. We talk about germs, coronavirus, etc. So I can see why some people might think. But of course, that will leave an awful lot of people behind. And that's what I talk about. When I talk about digital divide, I think we've got to go slightly deeper than just parking apps and these other things. Actually, it's all to do with, can we not educate the next generation or the past generation about the benefits of getting online more, benefits of doing this more? And actually, I think that's something the government should be doing. But I don't think we're going to move to a cashless society yet, so don't panic.
Yeah, but I was just about to say, how long would the rollout be for this sort of parking app? Do we know sort of at what point, because you mentioned about the 3G sort of going out of play, do we know how long this might take, the rollout of using a parking app when you go to park?
Well, wouldn't it be great if the government at the time decided actually they could nationalise this and just have one app? Wouldn't that be useful?
Wouldn't that be helpful, Dan?
Wouldn't that be helpful? Exactly. One app to download, not 6 or 7. Yeah, but of course, there's a lot that then becomes a political move. People say, "Oh, you can't nationalise stuff. That's evil." So, but again, maybe that would be useful if you had just one app that people could download at just one point of call, rather than 16 or 17 or 20 private companies all trying to make money out of it. So I'm again a great believer in perhaps we should take it out of the hands of the people trying to make money, because that always will make you have different apps. And I would be very annoyed if you had to have I think they have 5 or 6 different apps on their phone so they can park in one city. I mean,
Dan, I've already got it. I've already got it.
There you go.
In Birmingham, and I'm not just saying this. I travel from Wolverhampton to Birmingham, and I have a different one for each sort of part of the West Midlands, and it's frustrating because, like you said, the other thing I want to mention as well is signal, because I know I've been caught out before. If you're in a part of the world that doesn't have the best signal and you're relying on that to use the parking app, that can be a bit of a nightmare as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, there would be therefore an argument that 4G is better, and therefore that's why we're rolling into 4G. Not only does 4G have about 90% of the data to it, the reason why they're kind of stopping 3G is to give more spectrum to 4G, because 4G can handle this information more, and which means you actually get better coverage in those places. However, again, I'm going to come back to it. It's about infrastructure. I do believe that the government and other people, instead of doing it about profits, they should be investing in remote locations too, because this is almost like not having running water. It's getting that important. It's a kind of almost a basic human right to be able to connect to the internet for the very reasons you're talking about.
I also want to mention, just quickly before we go, I'm saying this, I am very passionate about it because I know my grandma just wouldn't ever use a smartphone. Not at this moment in time anyway. Could she be educated and could we, teach the past generation? I don't know. But I also want to say on the flip side of things, in a more positive way of looking at things, how many times do we go out the house and we get to a car parking machine and we go, oh, I've got no change. So at least if you've then got the parking app, that's a blessing. But it'd be nice to have the option of both, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be, but as I say, this change that they're doing, I think they could do it better, and we could do it in a more homogenous way. But the actual reason is those machines won't work very soon, and so they're taking this as a good reason to then do the rest. It's not really up to them because 3G will be defunct; it won't exist, so they can't use those parking meters anyway.
Yeah. Okay, Dan. Thank you so much for joining me.